Have you ever stopped to wonder whether it's really you making your choices, or whether something inside you, something you cannot see, has already decided for you? Most people believe they are in control of their lives. They call it free will, confidence, self-direction. But Carl Jung warned us, the ego, the mask we wear, often becomes a tyrant. It pretends to serve us while quietly taking control. And when the ego is inflated, when it believes it is the whole self rather than just a part, it begins to imprison the very person it was meant to protect. Think about it. How many times have you reacted with anger or fear, only to realize later that it wasn't really you speaking, but some automatic defense inside you? Jung described the ego as the gatekeeper of consciousness. It organizes experience, it gives us identity, it keeps the chaos of the unconscious at bay. But when the ego forgets its place, when it refuses to listen to the deeper self, it turns into a mask we cannot remove. We become possessed by roles, titles, appearances. The father who is nothing without his authority, the woman who is nothing without her beauty, the worker who is nothing without his job. And here lies the tragedy. What we think of as strength is often just fear in disguise. The ego inflates, builds walls, shouts louder just to avoid hearing the whisper of the unconscious. Schopenhauer once wrote, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." The ego convinces us that we are free, but the truth is we are servants to drives we barely understand. So let me ask you, if tomorrow everything that defines you on the surface was stripped away, your job, your status, the way others see you, who would you be? This is the beginning of the shadow war, a battle not with the world outside, but with the unseen forces within. And if you cannot face that war, the ego will fight it for you. But when the ego fights, it does not protect. You become its prisoner. Do you really know the difference between who you are and the mask you wear every day? The ego was never meant to be the whole of your identity. Jung saw it as a tool, a bridge between the chaos of the unconscious and the order of the conscious mind. But most of us forget this. We confuse the mask with the face. We say, "I am my career, I am my reputation, I am my success or failure." Yet these are not the self. They are only fragments. When the ego inflates, it believes itself to be the entire being. This is when it becomes dangerous. An inflated ego resists criticism, hides its fragility behind arrogance, and creates illusions of control. To challenge it feels like attacking life itself. That's why so many people collapse when their image cracks, the mask breaks, and they realize they never knew who they were behind it. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." Even in self-hatred, the ego finds a way to survive. It clings to pain, to pride, to any identity it can hold, because the greatest fear of the ego is annihilation. This is why midlife crises, betrayals, sudden breakdowns often appear without warning. They are not random. They are eruptions of the unconscious breaking through the ego's fragile mask. What looks like madness is often just truth refusing to stay buried. So ask yourself, if the mask you wear every day was stripped away, what truth would be revealed underneath? And could you bear to face it? Have you ever noticed how easily your emotions can take control, as if something inside you pulls the strings while you simply watch? Jung called this possession by complexes. The ego likes to believe it is the commander of the mind, but in truth, it is often just the mask through which deeper forces express themselves. Rage, jealousy, shame, these are not random feelings. They are autonomous fragments of the unconscious, breaking into consciousness, hijacking behavior. In those moments you say things you never meant, you destroy what you love, and afterward you whisper, "I don't know what came over me." But Jung would answer, it was not you, it was a complex using your ego as a stage. Schopenhauer saw the same truth in another language. We do not will what we will. Beneath the surface, blind drives rule us, and the ego pretends it was in charge all along. The more you deny this, the stronger their hold becomes. That is why denial is so dangerous. What you repress does not vanish. It waits, it grows, and one day, it erupts. Nietzsche warned, "Man is something that shall be overcome." And overcoming begins with recognition, seeing that the ego is not the master, but the mask. If you cling to the mask, you will forever be its prisoner. But if you dare to face the forces behind it, then the process of individuation begins, the painful birth of the true self. So let me ask you, when was the last time you realized you were not in control of yourself? And what did that moment reveal about who you truly are? If you want to keep uncovering the hidden forces that shape your life, subscribe now and turn on the bell, because what comes next will take you even deeper into the shadow. Have you ever wondered why the same patterns keep repeating in your life, as if fate itself is conspiring against you? Jung explained this as the cycle of repression. The ego, in its pride, believes it can bury what it doesn't want to face. But what is repressed does not disappear. It sinks into the unconscious and waits. Then it returns in disguise, in failed relationships, in destructive habits, in the same mistakes made again and again. The ego calls it bad luck, but in truth it is the shadow demanding recognition. This is why denial is so costly. The man who refuses to admit weakness becomes obsessed with control. The woman who hides her fear of loneliness becomes addicted to validation. The child ignored within the adult grows louder until it sabotages the life around it. The ego builds walls to protect itself, but those walls become prisons. Nietzsche once said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." But he was not speaking of comfort. He meant confrontation. Strength comes not from hiding the shadow, but from dragging it into the light. The ego resists because it fears humiliation, but the greater humiliation is to live a life ruled by forces you refuse to see. Schopenhauer described the will as blind, pushing endlessly without reason. The ego, inflated with pride, believes it can direct this will, but when the mask finally cracks, the truth emerges. We were never in control. We were only clinging to an illusion of mastery. So let me ask you, are you brave enough to face the parts of yourself you've been hiding, or will you let them rule you from the dark? Have you ever noticed how fragile the ego becomes when its image is threatened? The moment someone criticizes us, a storm erupts inside. Rage, defensiveness, denial. These reactions are not strength, they are fear. The ego trembles when the mask begins to slip. Jung warned that the ego, when inflated, is like a tyrant, loud, controlling, terrified of being exposed as powerless. That is why even small cracks feel unbearable. They reveal that beneath the performance lies uncertainty. Schopenhauer believed that life is driven by blind striving, the will. We cling to roles, achievements, and appearances because the will demands proof of existence. But this striving is endless. No matter what we achieve, the hunger returns. The ego promises fulfillment, but delivers exhaustion. It convinces us that if we just gain more recognition, more validation, more control, we will finally be at peace. Yet the opposite happens. The more we chase, the emptier we become. Nietzsche saw this cycle clearly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But without a true why, the ego replaces meaning with performance. You become trapped in comparison, envy, and endless proving. Every success feels temporary, every failure feels fatal, because the ego is fragile by design. The tragedy is that the more we serve it, the weaker we grow. The ego cannot give us what we truly seek. It can only distract us from the self. Jung taught that real freedom comes when the ego steps aside, when it listens to the deeper self instead of pretending to be the self. So ask yourself, are you living to impress the world with your mask, or to meet the truth of who you are beneath it? Have you ever asked yourself what it would cost you to keep living as a mask, never meeting the self that waits beneath? This is the ultimate danger of an ego left unchecked. Jung saw it again and again. Men and women who believed they were in control, only to discover they were puppets of their own illusions. The ego resists surrender because it believes surrender means death. But the greater death is to live a life disconnected from the self, endlessly chasing validation, terrified of silence, blind to the shadow. Schopenhauer said that we can will what we want, but we cannot choose what to will. The drives inside us are ancient, blind, merciless. If the ego refuses to confront them, they will rule from the dark. That is why Jung insisted on individuation, the painful, lifelong process of integrating shadow, ego, and self into something whole. Without it, collapse is inevitable. Nietzsche reminded us that one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. The ego fears chaos. It wants order, control, predictability. But the self is born through confrontation with chaos, not avoidance of it. If you run from your shadow, you run from your life. So let me ask you, will you face your shadow, or will you allow your ego to destroy the very life it claims to protect? This is the final choice: remain a prisoner of the mask, or risk everything to awaken to the self. The path is terrifying, but it is the only way forward. And now I want to hear from you. When was the moment you realized your ego was not in control? And what did it reveal about who you truly are? Share it in the comments. I read them all. If you found this journey valuable, subscribe and turn on the bell, because what comes next will take you deeper into the war between mind and shadow. In the next video, we'll uncover how technology and algorithms don't just capture your attention, they capture your soul. Don't miss it.